Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, where we discuss all the news in the world of soccer, top games, competitions from all around the world. My name is Ben Brown. We are back here recording episode number 45. Remember, we only do one a week, so we are vastly approaching the 1 year mark here at the GSMC Soccer Podcast, which of course is phenomenal and will be definitely a big milestone we look at. But until then, we still have 7 episodes, including today. So, still got a while here, a couple months until we reach that plateau. So, it's going to be a very interesting next couple of months. We are winding down on the season in the club competitions, which is definitely bittersweet. Then we get into the summertime, which, of course, we will be talking all the time about transfers. Near the end of that, we'll do some previews for some leagues and teams and everything. But right now, we're winding down near the end of the season all around Europe, which of course is bittersweet, as I mentioned. It's great to definitely see the end of things like the Champions League and all these leagues around the world, but it's definitely tough when we get into definitely not having games to talk about, because that's of course what the big storylines are and where we definitely focus a lot of our attention. So nevertheless, we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right into our weekend observations. The past week, we are back now in the club scene. The international break is over. Of course, last week we did have some big things going on. We talked a lot about the updated tables for the CONCACAF, the South America, and UEFA World Cup qualifying. And we're still going to talk about a little bit more of that at the end of the show in the news segment, because we'll talk about Lionel Messi a little bit, getting suspended 4 games, and how that has really affected the Argentinian national team in World Cup qualifying after just one game, because they did lose to Bolivia. So we'll talk about that and really some other news at the end of the show. But first and foremost, we're going to talk about results from this weekend in the club scene. Then the second segment, we'll look ahead. We'll look at games upcoming. It's going to be a very busy week, because we do have midweek games as well as weekend games. So we'll be looking at a couple of match days in some respective leagues around the world, which is obviously very good and entertaining, but it's definitely tiring for the players, and we'll probably see some new faces mixed in there. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into talking about the Premier League from this weekend. On Saturday, we did have a Merseyside derby early in the morning, and Liverpool did come out on top 3-1 at home in Anfield. Really dominated Everton. They're up 2-1 at the half, and they get a second half goal from Divock Origi to really give them the 3 points there. And it was never really in question. Liverpool all over Everton. They take 6 points from their Merseyside rivals and win on Saturday, which is a very big 3 points for their top 4 chase. The surprise of this weekend was definitely Chelsea losing at Stamford Bridge to Crystal Palace, of all people, 2-1. Crystal Palace get a couple of goals within 90 seconds to get the edge there over the current Premier League leaders at home at Stamford Bridge. A really big victory there for Crystal Palace as they continue to edge away from that relegation zone. It looks even more convincing now that they are not going to be relegated. And this was a big victory for them against Chelsea. Manchester United and West Brom played to a 0-0 draw at Old Trafford. Very disappointing there. Manchester United have now gotten 8 draws at home this season in the Premier League. Jose Mourinho definitely very unhappy after the game. Leicester City continue winning without Claudio Ranieri. They have won every single game since they sacked him. They beat Stoke City 2-0 in this one. Goal from Wilfred Ndidi from definitely very far out of the box, as well as Jamie Vardy. Watford pick up a 1-0 victory over Sunderland. Definitely a tough defeat there for Sunderland and David Moyes' side. It looks almost certain that they will be getting relegated come the end of April. Tottenham pick up a 2-0 victory over Burnley without Harry Kane. Goal from Eric Dyer as well as Son in this game. And a big victory for their title chances since Chelsea did lose on the same day. Hull City pick up a 2-1 victory over West Ham. Come from behind there, a big victory for Hull City as they are trying to avoid getting relegated there. And then Southampton and Bournemouth played to a goalless draw at the end of Saturday. Yesterday we did have a couple of games, Swansea City and Middlesbrough as well, a very inconvincing and boring 0-0 draw. Middlesbrough had a nice chance in the game, but they just could not get the header down. And then the other big matchup was Arsenal against Manchester City. It ends a 2-2 draw. Arsenal had to claw back from a goal deficit twice at home at the Emirates Stadium to get a 1-point result from this. Manchester City were really in control the whole way out. Arsenal showed good resilience to fight back. Got a goal in the first half from Theo Walcott, and in the second half get a header from a corner from Skodran Mustafi. But they really were never in control. Manchester City were the whole way through, and both teams end up with the 1 point. So when you look at the updated Premier League table, you do have Chelsea atop still with 69 points. Tottenham 7 points back now with 62. Liverpool with 59 points. Manchester City in fourth with 58. And you have a kind of a bit of a drop-off there. You have Manchester United in fifth with 53 points. Arsenal in sixth with 51 points. At the bottom of the table, Sunderland with 20. Middlesbrough with 23. Hull City with 27. They do have a game in hand over Middlesbrough and Sunderland. Then you have Swansea City with 28. And then Crystal Palace with 31. So Crystal Palace do have a game in hand. So technically they could go with a victory with 34 points up to as much as 10th. So that's definitely really, really big for Crystal Palace. They're finally getting things turned around and winning under Sam Allardyce. He's almost like the king of turning it around and really avoiding teams from getting relegated. So big result there. Beating Chelsea was phenomenal for their title, not for their title chances, but for their chances of avoiding getting relegated. So big, big results there for Crystal Palace. We move over to talk about La Liga from this weekend. On Friday, Espanyol defeat Real Betis 2-1. On Saturday, Eibar defeat Villarreal 3-2. Atletico Bilbao with a goal from Aritz Aduriz defeat Osasuna 2-1. He's now got 10 goals this season. Real Sociedad and Leganes played to a 1-1 draw. Atletico Madrid continued their winning ways with a 2-0 victory over Malaga. A goal from Felipe Luis, the left back in that game. Sevilla and Sporting Gijón yesterday played to a very unconvincing 0-0 draw. Real Madrid stay top with their victory over Alaves 3-0. A goal from Isco in that game. He's having a fantastic season for Los Blancos. Valencia defeat Deportivo La Coruña 3-0. Barcelona defeats Granada 4-1 to keep the chase on with Real Madrid. Neymar gets his 100th Barcelona goal in that game. And then today we have Celta Vigo taking on Las Palmas. You look at the updated table. Real Madrid do have a game in hand over Barcelona, and they have a 2-point lead atop the table right now. Atletico Madrid in third with 58 points, so they're 8 points back of Barcelona. Sevilla in fourth, joint with Atletico Madrid at 58 points, just behind on goal differential. Real Sociedad in fifth with 49. Villarreal in sixth with 48. Atletico Bilbao in seventh with 47. At the bottom of the table, Osasuna have 11 points, just one victory this season. They're for sure going to be getting relegated. Granada, 19 points, 19th place. Sporting Gijón, 18th place with 22 points. Then you have a big gap there. Leganes, Deportivo, and Malaga, all with 27 points, 17, 16, and 15th, respectively. Let's move over to Serie A. Serie A had a lot of intriguing matchups this weekend. Definitely on Sunday, Napoli and Juventus. We'll get to that. But first, on Saturday, we had Lazio with a 2-1 victory over Sassuolo. Roma get a couple of goals from Edin Dzeko to defeat Empoli 2-0. Yesterday, Torino and Udinese played to a 2-2 draw. Crotone and Chievo play, and Crotone won 2-1. Fiorentina defeated Bologna 1-0. Cagliari defeat Palermo 3-1. Atalanta, a very convincing 5-0 victory over Genoa. AC Milan, a really bad result there. A draw against Pescara, 1-1. And then yesterday I mentioned Napoli and Juventus. It was the return for Gonzalo Higuain to Napoli since moving over to Juventus. And the fans definitely booed him every time he got even control of the ball. The game was a 1-1 draw. Quite honestly, Napoli probably should have won this game. They missed a lot of chances in the first half. And they did get an equalizer there in the second from Marek Hamšík. But it was not enough to get all 3 points. They played to a 1-1 draw against Juventus. It's a great result for Juventus against a tough team like Napoli. To not lose and only get a draw is very, very good. And then today we do have Inter Milan and Sampdoria taking on. But on the table, you have Juve with a 6-point lead over Roma. So technically the title chase is still there with about 8 games left. Roma are down 6 points. So it's really good that they could still possibly get it done, although I don't think that will be the case. They do have a shot. I mean, they're definitely a very good team. Napoli in third with 64 points. Lazio in fourth with 60. At the bottom of the table, Pescara 13, Palermo 15, Crotone 17. Then you have Empoli with 22. So the battle with Serie A is definitely for the top 4. You have AC Milan in 7th with 54. Inter, they played today with a game in hand, of course. They have 55. Atalanta in 5th with 58. Lazio in 4th with 60. So it's going to be very interesting to see who gets in through the top 4 in Serie A. Let's move over to the Bundesliga. Definitely the champions, the reigning champions, Bayern Munich, are firmly in control of the Bundesliga. But on Friday, Hoffenheim did defeat Hertha Berlin 3-1. Good result there for Hoffenheim. On Saturday, RB Leipzig returned to their winning ways against Darmstadt with a 4-0 victory. Couple of goals in that game from Naby Keita. The midfielder from Guinea has had a fantastic season for the surprises of Europe, RB Leipzig. Bayern Munich defeat Augsburg 6-0. We had a hat-trick in that game from Robert Lewandowski. Between club and country this season, Lewandowski has 43 goals in 44 games. He's been phenomenal. He's by far, in my opinion, the second best striker in the world behind Luis Suarez. Hamburg defeat Cologne, a surprise there 2-1. Werder, a big win over FC Freiburg 5-2. Dortmund and Schalke in the Riviera Derby played to a 1-1 draw. We'll talk a little bit about that game in the new segment because Pierre Emerick Aubameyang celebration. BVB not very happy about it. Eintracht against Mönchengladbach played to a 0-0 draw. Yesterday, Ingolstadt defeat Mainz 2-1. And then Wolfsburg and Bayer Leverkusen played to a 3-3 draw. Look at the table. It's all Bayern Munich, only one loss this season to Dortmund. They have a 13-point lead atop the table over Leipzig. In third is Hoffenheim with 48 points. Dortmund in fourth with 47. A little bit of a drop-off there. Hertha Berlin in fifth with 40. Bottom of the table, Darmstadt 15, Ingolstadt 22. Then you have Augsburg and Mainz with 29. And then you have Hamburg and Wolfsburg with 30. So it looks like definitely Darmstadt and Ingolstadt probably getting relegated down to the Bundesliga 2. Let's look at League 1 before we take our first break of the show. A couple of big teams not playing because they were in the League Cup final. That is PSG as well as Monaco. PSG did win that game 4-1 for their fourth Cup final victory. A couple of goals in that game from Edinson Cavani. A beautiful, beautiful volley. Big victory there for PSG. And I guess you can say a little bit of a motivation. You know, they're definitely trying to edge the gap. Monaco do have a 3-point lead atop the table over PSG right now, so as we go down the stretch, that'll be really interesting. But on Friday, Ginkamp and AC announced their reign played. Ginkamp with a 1-0 victory there. Marseille and Dijon played to a 1-1 draw. Lille over Bastia 1-0. Lyon take on Rennes yesterday. It was a 1-1 draw. Lorient defeat Caen 1-0. Toulouse defeats Montpellier 1-0. Nantes with a 2-1 victory over Angers, and then Nice with a 2-1 victory over Bordeaux. So Nice slowly edging their way back, although PSG as well as Monaco do have a game in hand. Nice only 4 points back of Monaco right now, 1 point back of PSG. Lyon in fourth, 16 points back. Yes, 16 points back of Nice. Bottom of the table is Bastia with 25, Lorient with 28, Nantes-Lorraine 28, Dijon 29, Caen 32, Montpellier 33. So we're going to take our first break on the show. And after the break, we're going to talk about upcoming games this week. We have a lot. We have midweeks. We have weekends in respective leagues. It's going to be very, very good. And then at the end, we'll talk about news. We have Pierre Emerick Aubameyang's goal celebration, which Dortmund were not very happy about, possibly match tampering, and how this could be the summer of the strikers. All that and more at the GSMC Soccer Podcast. Coming up.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Okay, welcome back into the show. I decided I'm going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to do the news segment now, and then look ahead to this upcoming week at the end of the show. Do that kind of briefly. Just for some time purposes, we're going to look at news now, and then obviously we're going to look at what is coming up ahead at the end of the show. So, guys, let's not waste any time. We got a lot to definitely look at here. Talking about possibly match fixing in our first story. So, in the La Liga 2, so basically the second division of the Spanish football, we have a potential match fixing here, okay? So I read this story, and I saw the headline on Saturday about the game, about the final score was just super, super out of town. It's between Eldense and Barcelona B, so the B squad of Barcelona and Eldense. So the final score was 12-0. Yeah, yes, 12-0. Barcelona B atop of Eldense 12-0. Barcelona B were up 8-0 at the half, and they, of course, got 4 more in the second half to obviously win 12-0. But the La Liga president Javier Tebas confirmed today that it's going to be investigated by the Eldense Board of Directors because there's possibly that match fixing was involved. He said that claims have emerged that players on the visiting team, which would be Eldense, possibly threw the game, and the board's definitely going to be looking into it. And they actually are not very, very happy about this. The result is actually a record for the Segunda B division, which is the second division, and it sealed their relegation with 6 games left of the season to go. So possibly they're like, man, let's just finally get this over with. Like, let's just lose so we can get relegated. Like, I don't even care anymore, which is definitely not a very good sign. I mean, Elden's player Sheikh Saad did say that there were 4 players involved in match fixing, and I don't care what happens, and I will give the names of these players. So he's even coming out and saying that there's potentially match fixing, and 4 guys even did it. And basically, they came out and said, like, we got told not to score goals. They didn't ask me, like, exactly what to do. But, I mean, there's players involved that were part of this. So this is definitely a very, very bad scandal. You know, Barcelona B have said that they literally have nothing to do with this at all. They were not involved at all. Even Saad, who did mention these things about Elden's players, said that Barcelona B did have nothing to do with this. They were just simply playing the game. And, I mean, obviously they benefited from it because they got a 12-0 victory out of it. So this is potentially a very, very bad situation for not just soccer in general, but for Eldense as a club. I mean, they're definitely having to forfeit the rest of the season. They're already relegated, which is definitely not a good thing either. But this is really, really bad situation, and hopefully, I mean, me personally, it'd be my dream to play all the time across Europe. I mean, even in a second division like that, it's still really good football. But, I mean, just the fact that you're kind of throwing it away and not really caring is definitely really unfortunate and sad, and I hate that that's the case. So, I mean, it seems like this is pretty official, pretty legit, and it's really, really disappointing and unfortunate, but, I mean, it is what it is. Possibly there may be some betting involved. Maybe I'm just speculating, but maybe some betting involved. I mean, I don't know exactly why you would want to just totally lose on purpose like that and throw the game away and give up your shot at even being a footballer, because would you even take these players on your team anymore if they're even involved in a scandal like this? I mean, for me, the answer is definitely no. I wouldn't even think about bringing them on board, because who knows if this is even going to happen again? I mean, who knows if they're just throwing matches where it doesn't end up 12-0, maybe ends up like 2 or 3-0. I mean, there's definitely situations. This could have not been the first time. So I'd definitely be really, really cautious as far as just the whole situation as a whole. And it's definitely not a good situation to be a part of. So let's move on here. Let's talk about Pierre Emerick Aubameyang now. So Pierre Emerick Aubameyang, of course, they played on Saturday in the Riviera Derby against Schalke. The game ended in a 1-1 draw. Aubameyang did open the scoring with a goal in that game. Of course, Pierre Emerick Aubameyang did score because that's, what he does. It's his 24th goal in as many games. But the club was not very happy with his celebration. Of course, he's definitely a guy who is not afraid to celebrate. Traditionally does the front flip. He and Marco Reus did a whole Batman and Robin thing one time. So Pierre Emerick Aubameyang, he is sponsored by Nike. Of course, Dortmund, as a club, are sponsored by Puma, and Puma is also a shareholder in the club, which, of course, the second most popular team in Dortmund in Germany, get a lot of money to Borussia Dortmund. So, not too happy with his goal celebration. So after he scored, he pulled out a mask that covered his whole entire face. It looks a lot like Venom from Spider-Man with a little bit of red mixed in. So he put on a mask. And reportedly, this is part of a sponsorship campaign for the company's, quote, the mask finisher campaign. So he finishes the goal and obviously puts on the mask. Dortmund not happy about this. Obviously, they're Puma. He's Nike. And also, it kind of just... Celebrating is obviously great, and I'm cool with it and all, but it kind of takes things a little too far. He's going to get fined 50,000 euros for this. And he's just totally putting on a whole entire mask. It's kind of scary looking. And he said, or the Dortmund CEO, Jans Joachim Watzke, he said, the behavior is unworthy of a big corporation. It can't be that we have to force through the economic interests of Nike in this way. Our partner is Puma. So, of course, he's just kind of throwing shit at Nike for doing this, and even Aubameyang for doing this. And you know what? I'm cool with celebrating it all, but I think this is kind of taking it a little too far. You know what I mean? And honestly, this is kind of Pierre Emerick Aubameyang's, I guess you can say, image. Like, he's definitely cool with the celebrations and wants to do a lot of them in different types and all. But I'm going to sort of read more into this. I feel like he's definitely chasing the money. And Dortmund are a big club. But there's other out there who would not mind taking him in that have a lot more money than Borussia Dortmund do. Maybe like Real Madrid, perhaps. You see where I'm kind of going with this? I'm speculating in the summertime. This could definitely be the summer of the strikers. And not just Aubameyang in general, but really as a whole. Think about Pierre Aubameyang. Dortmund are definitely chasing Bayern Munich, and they're not going to catch them anytime soon. Dortmund have not been afraid to sign big-time players. Of course, they sold Robert Lewandowski to Bayern Munich, after all. They sold Mario Götze to Bayern Munich, although Bayern did sell him back. They're definitely not afraid to let go of big-name players for money. I mean, this year they let go of Ilkay Gundogan, they let go of Henrik Mkhitaryan. So there's definitely the possibility that they could let a lot of people go. Aubameyang seems like a guy who's ready for that next step in his life. He's talked about wanting to always play for Real Madrid. His dad came out and said he would only leave Dortmund to go to Real Madrid. I'm going to speculate that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang definitely leaves this summer for Real Madrid. A huge move. I mean, you're looking at least 80 million euros. A big, big transfer fee given his age and his goal production. I think he could definitely move to Real Madrid. So what would that mean for some of their other strikers? Of course, Karim Benzema, although he's definitely on a decline, still one of the best in the world, as well as Alvaro Morata, who's had a really good season since coming back to the Bernabeu this year. This could be the year of the strikers. You could see a lot of movement. I mean, there's a lot of rumors going about Antoine Griezmann possibly going to Manchester United. Romelu Lukaku did not sign a contract extension at Everton, so there's reasons as to why that might be. He leads the Premier League in goals. He could definitely be on the move. Alexis Sanchez could be on the move at Arsenal. This could definitely be the summer of the strikers because there could be a lot of movement, which I realize I'm kind of building up the hype a little too early, but I'm really excited for this summer, in particular to look at the striker position because a lot of guys could be on the move, and I think Aubameyang is definitely one of them who's going to be moving for sure, and that place would be to Real Madrid. I mean, that's the spot that makes the most sense, and he's talked about going there, and even his father as well. There's nothing left for him to do at Dortmund. They're not going to beat Bayern Munich. They're not going to get probably farther than them in the Champions League, and they're a very good team. They're not up there with the elites of the Barcelonas of the world and the Real Madrids and the Bayern Munichs and the Juventus. I mean, they're not at that step. So I don't think there's anything left to do except move up to one of those teams, and that team is definitely Real Madrid for Pierre Emerick Aubameyang. So we'll see what happens, but Dortmund definitely unhappy with how he celebrated his ad campaign for Nike, but I mean, it is what it is. And then real quick, before we end the break here, before we go into the break, I should say, we're going to talk about Lionel Messi for a little bit. So Lionel Messi, he last week picked up a 4-game suspension after he used, quote, insulting words with an official FIFA-ruled official on Tuesday. It was in their game in two Thursdays ago in the World Cup qualifying victory against Chile, a game which he actually scored the winning goal 1-0 from a penalty. I'm not going to repeat what he said. You can look it up, but it's really, really bad. And, I mean, it was so bad it got him suspended for 4 games as a part of the Argentinian national team, which is definitely very, very bad. So, no Lionel Messi for 4 games. So they go into their game against Bolivia without Lionel Messi. And quite honestly, Bolivia, very, very poor through 13 games. They had 7 points. They were second bottom of the South American qualifying, I guess you can say, table. And they actually lost that game 2-0 without Messi. So that's a big, big loss for Argentina, a game they definitely should have won. So now you look at the table. They picked up a big result over Chile, but now they're definitely struggling. You have Brazil, who are dominating. They're going to go through, of course. Colombia in second with 24, Uruguay 23, Chile 23, now Argentina 22. The top 4 teams go through automatically, so right now you're looking at Chile, Uruguay, Colombia, and Brazil. And then that 5th place finisher has to have a playoff battle with a team from the Oceania. So you're looking at an Asian country or an Australian country. So Argentina should definitely be able to get through that if they even get to 5th. But I mean, you're looking at Ecuador 2 points back of Argentina as well. So even if Ecuador were to get a victory from Argentina, get a draw, they would go ahead of them. So it's going to be very, very crucial that Argentina, at these next World Cup qualifying games and international friendlies without Messi, are going to have to really, really step up because he's definitely their everything, and they definitely were not doing too good without him. I mean, they lose 2-0 to a side they should have beaten like Bolivia, even without Messi. It's going to be very, very tough. They have not missed a World Cup since 1970 because, I mean, this is really, really bad. And imagine Argentina not in the World Cup. Like, that would be just kind of absurd and almost a disrespect to all those players they have. I mean, up front with Higuain, Dybala, you have Aguero, Messi, Di Maria, midfield Ever Banega, Nicolas Gaitan. I mean, it'd be really, really tough to imagine Argentina not in the World Cup, but it's possible. And I'm not going to say it's all on Messi, but a lot of it does stem on this suspension here. So we'll see what happens. But we'll take our last break here at the GSMC Soccer Podcast. After that break, we're going to talk about games upcoming this week and weekend. It's a busy, busy week in soccer. We'll break down all these games coming up next here at the GSMC Soccer Podcast.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, guys, welcome back into the Golden State Media Concept Soccer Podcast. We're going to roll through this last segment here, looking ahead for what we got in the top leagues around Europe. So let's get right into it. We're starting off here with the Premier League on Tuesday. So tomorrow we have Watford against West Brom. We have Manchester United against Everton. That'll be a great game there. Burnley against Stoke. And Leicester City, seeing if they can win 5 in a row against Sunderland. Definitely a good chance at home there. On Wednesday, we have Swansea City hosting Tottenham. We have Arsenal hosting West Ham in a London derby. We have Hull City taking on Middlesbrough. Southampton taking on Crystal Palace. Liverpool at Anfield at home against Bournemouth. And then Chelsea at Stamford Bridge against Manchester City on Wednesday. Definitely a big result there. If Chelsea do drop some more points, Tottenham on the road against Swansea, definitely not a guarantee, but should be able to get it done. They've won 5 games in a row now in the league. You have to imagine the title challenge could be on if Chelsea do drop some more points to Tottenham. Even if they lose, you're looking at 4. A draw would be 5. I mean, that'd be very interesting to see what happens there. And then let's look ahead to the weekend on Saturday. Tottenham taking on Watford. West Ham taking on Swansea City. Stoke City at home against Liverpool. West Brom taking on Southampton. Manchester City at the Etihad taking on Hull City. Middlesbrough taking on Burnley. On Saturday as well, we have Bournemouth hosting Chelsea. On Sunday, Sunderland will be at home taking on Manchester United. Everton at Goodison Park will take on Leicester. I feel like that's definitely going to be the spot that Leicester do lose their first game is at Goodison Park. And then next Monday, we do have Crystal Palace taking on Arsenal. So let's move over, talk about La Liga here. So La Liga on Tuesday, we do have Atletico Bilbao taking on Espanyol. Real Betis taking on Villarreal. And Atletico Madrid taking on Real Sociedad. Wednesday, a big game. We have Barcelona taking on Sevilla, 2 versus 4 respectively. Barcelona at the Camp Nou. Sporting Gijon taking on Malaga. Deportivo taking on Granada. Alaves against Osasuna. Leganes hosting Real Madrid. On Thursday, Eibar take on Las Palmas. And Valencia take on Celta Vigo. On Friday, we do have Villarreal taking on Atletico Bilbao. Saturday is Espanyol against Alaves. We have a Madrid derby Saturday. Real Madrid at home at the Bernabeu taking on Atletico Madrid. Big game there. Sevilla will host Deportivo La Coruña. Malaga will take on Barcelona. On Sunday, Granada take on Valencia. Celta Vigo take on Eibar. Osasuna hosts Leganes. Las Palmas hosts Real Betis. And Real Sociedad will be at home taking on Sporting Gijon. In Serie A on Saturday, no midweek, but on Saturday we do have Empoli taking on Pescara. Atalanta against Sassuolo. Juve at home against Chievo. On Sunday, Sampdoria against Fiorentina. Udinese take on Genoa. Cagliari take on Torino. Bologna take on second place Roma. Milan will battle Palermo. Inter Milan will be on the road taking on Crotone. And then a big game here, Lazio at home against Napoli. Big result there. Number 3 versus number 4, respectively, in Serie A. In the Bundesliga, we have midweek action. Hoffenheim hosting Bayern Munich. Big game there. Hoffenheim only 2 losses this season. Bayern Munich 1. FC Cologne against Eintracht. Werder Bremen taking on Schalke. Dortmund hosting Hamburg. See if Pierre Emerick Aubameyang does play tomorrow or not. Borussia Mönchengladbach hosting Hertha Berlin. Wolfsburg taking on SC Freiburg. FC Augsburg taking on Ingolstadt. Mainz hosting RB Leipzig. And then Darmstadt taking on Bayer Leverkusen. On Friday, we do have Eintracht taking on Werder. On Saturday, RB Leipzig hosts Bayer Leverkusen. Hamburg hosting Hoffenheim. We do have Schalke taking on Wolfsburg. FC Cologne against Mönchengladbach. FC Freiburg against Mainz. And then Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena hosting Dortmund in our second matchup of Der Klassiker. Of course, Dortmund did win the first game at home 1-0. On Sunday, Hertha Berlin take on FC Augsburg. And then Ingolstadt will take on Darmstadt. And then moving over to French League 1 on Friday, Lille take on Nice. Saturday, Angers will host league leaders Monaco. Caen will take on Montpellier. Nancy-Lorraine will take on Rennes. Dijon will host Bastia. Lyon will take on Lorient. Bordeaux will host Metz. On Sunday, we have Toulouse hosting Marseille. Paris Saint-Germain against Gincap, and Saint-Etienne taking on Nantes. That's going to be it for today, guys. That's going to end our show here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. Of course, my name is Ben Brown. I would like to thank you once again for joining us here today. Have a good day, have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Big show next week. Talking some Champions League again. All these results from this weekend, big results all around Europe, and all the top news as well. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a good week, and we will see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.